Buckle up.
You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right. So, again, a lot of people want to poke fun at my life as far as mental issues. I really have very few mental issues, very few. But because the deep state's allowed to engage in their activity, the narcos, the sex traffickers, anybody with a little bit of money to pay off a dirty cop or to pay off a dirty chief or a dirty mayor or dirty senator, they get way to continue this on, or somebody that is extortable. But usually extortion is followed up by payment. And it usually includes allowing narcotics distribution, sex trafficking, and worse. And that narcotics distribution in some states includes smuggling across the borders of the United States. So it's an active operation. Again, if I were to find a woman and we were to get together, and I'm not blocking myself from that, I'm a seer, so I know what the end result would be. And in years past, I even tested the seeing, as I did reach out. In fact, I would have been married. Actually, if one for the deep state, I'd still be married to the first wife. Man, remember, they did this to her first before they did it to me. And of course, they did it to my brother, my mother. And the more money you have, the easier it is, and the more likely they will recruit you versus try to kill you. Again, my brother is a little colder than me. I may seem cold, but I have what do they call that? Discernment. I'm cold to the people that need to be cold. I need to be cold to, but I still treat everybody else. That's nice people, nice. Well, I tried to get them to repent. I treated the devils nice, but hey, they thought it was funny. They thought they would abuse it. They thought they would increase the torture because I wasn't acting out in the way that they wanted me to act out. It's torture. It's not investigation. It's not oops. It's not ha pranked you. They will go to hell for it. My neighbors in Kansas were part of it. At least three of, I wouldn't say three of my neighbors. It involved 3 apartments. It's probably about narcotics distribution and sex trafficking. That's who they work for, including the cartels. So they'll tell you it's just the white guy down the street, white supremacist down the street. That's the scam, or the Republican or the Democrat. Always say it's part of something. So again, we go to what the main topic is. It's the same thing there. They're saving us all from ICE. ICE is not doing anything wrong, except responding to the level of aggression coming after them and coming at them. First off, everybody at Delaney Hall you should just have mass arrests. They're not allowed to be in front of your facility, blocking your traffic. I don't care if they're one person over hanging out with a group of people. That's called a criminal conspiracy. That's not lawful. Not one person is allowed to block one vehicle. They should be arrested. They should be given bond with a GPS requirement, an ankle monitor. And they're only allowed to leave their house for lawyer, work, and whatever else the court deems necessary. But they should not be near any ICE officer or any ICE facility, because they are the victims here. Enough of the bullshit. What I say has weight. It's unlawful. If you want to go to a location across the street, like they said, or even on the side of the facility, fine. That's protesting. Stay out of the street. Don't throw smoke bombs at the facility or IEDs. Allow people to freely travel on those roads. You know, all the requirements of civilization and civilized world. That the Democrats tell you, okay, yeah, get rid of it because we're on our way to third world where we're rich and we can commit crimes as senators and congresspeople and dirty cops. It's a reversal. They're the kings. Trump's not in your community as a king. They are. And their enforcers are narcos and immigrants who weren't raised to love their neighbor. Even if they love their neighbor as some sort, oh, look how nice we are. It's a psychological cover story for addicting your children, your mother, your uncle to hellish narcotics that have never existed with the addiction level that we're seeing today. Never. They are designing drugs to destroy your neighbor. And you bless it from a Congress position, from a senator position, from a police chief position, because they extorted you and then paid you. And most likely when they extorted you, it was just a fishing expedition. They had no clue. You shouldn't even be in law enforcement and government, let be running anything. You know who's being protected at Delaney Valley by those riots? Narcotics distributors, sex traffickers, and the communities are so thick with neighbors that don't give a shit. That DEA can't get anywhere in those communities. Why? Because I'm a contractor that's a Latino and they pay me $10,000 for an $8,000 job. Whereas I couldn't even afford to pay you $1,000 for an $8,000 job. That's how they're laundering the money. Bring in an immigrant community, buy everything from them, and their lips are sealed. He didn't pay me nothing. I just did it for a favor. Oh, I sold him that car for $5,000 when he paid $40,000 for it. Right. So they're not protecting, they're not protesting, they're scumbags. And mentally ill people who have mental illness that causes them to lash out and physically attack other people. That's what you Democrats are preying on. It's not ICE's responsibility to get the autistic person in for treatment in your congressional district that you sent to Delaney Hall. She admitted she has psychological issues, and she thinks what she's doing is well and balanced. And she's a hero. She's not a hero. In her case, she's probably a victim of some sort of actually Andy Kim. That woman is a victim of Andy Kim's fake and false and fabricated psychological operation, his political theater, his spycraft theater. You triggered her mental illness. Now she's out there risking her life like an idiot. So you get Andy Kim's scam every day. He's going to go to a nice facility and say, "Let me in, let me in." And one day they say, "Wait a minute, we can't let you in today." Why? We had 5 people bang in sick. We had to lend 10 people to another element of ICE to help protect them because of Andy Kim and his people while they go out on patrol or for a raid or whatever it is. So Andy Kim just keeps going because they let him in. He didn't say, "Oh, this is great, you let me in." He didn't say anything like that. He just kept going until they didn't let him in. Scammer, fraudster, grifter, anti-American, pro-foreign nation. I don't want to hear immigrant. These are not immigrants. They'd have been on the next boat out of the United States if they came here in 1905 when my family did. Disrespectful crud. Stealing from their neighbors, addicting children to drugs and sexuality. The deep state and their cronies, and again, it's not just Democrats, there are Republicans. But in this particular scenario, obviously they're Democrats. Although there are some Republicans are showing some sort of, actually a lot of them lost the primaries and stuff, so I don't know if they're going to be around. Right. Well, they just say it's Trump. You see, you make the person whose fault it is. And then you just say Trump, 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 Trump. It's a psychological effort. A foreign intelligence. Senator Andy Kim is involved in material support of terrorism. You're just not calling it terrorism anymore. Right. The next step, their next move, dumb down what terrorism is. That young lady that told you she had autism, I was watching her before she said she had autism. What's wrong with this lady? She's got psychological issues of some proportion. Should have been picked up. She should be picked up by an ambulance, taken to the hospital, and a doctor should give her the once over, right, and see what she's got, what's going on in her head. But again, in New Jersey, it may be so far gone, and they're corrupt. They were corrupt when I was there. They're probably even more corrupt now. Right? If I tell you she's fine, but we need to get Trump in here. So the governor of New Jersey is playing a control game. When ICE wrestles control back, she'll send local police and wrestle the control back to her. And that's because she wants to pardon all of them. I don't know if she will. We say it long enough, she might not. As soon as ICE, she opens the door to rioting. And as soon as ICE begins to control the rioting, she sends her cops. And then arrests everybody. So they don't get any federal charges that she can't pardon or that their dirty judge can't just throw out. You're in a feudalistic battle in New Jersey. She's some duchess attacking the king. Right. And again, I don't mean that Trump's a king or not a king. I think it's stupid to call yourself a king, even though you're probably a king. Well, it's the way the world's wired when it comes to metaphysics. There's a lot of cops that are giving it their all out there. If she pardons those people, boy, are they going to be flamed, pissed, hot. Right. I mean, it's good training it regardless, but right. And, you get to put it in your promotion paperwork. Responded to Delaney Hall. Right. So again, they could rationalize it as that. And they put it in their application to ICE or DHS. Well, such scams. All right, who's this? Let's see this here. Let me get back over here. Yeah, I can't. I have to go through the app to get it to put stuff online up here, so I won't be on for a little bit longer. But yeah, I was watching her, and then she comes up. Comes up today. She says, "I told them I was autistic." I've already said crime is mental illness or mental issue. You want to be nicer. Right. I've been psychologically tortured in an increasing. Again, it's kind of decreasing a little bit right now, but for over 30 years, I had no idea what was going on. That include coworkers. Again, of course, they're going to cover for each other. But again, when you look at gold bars and all the cash Rush had, he's just situation normal. Don't them tell you that this never went on before, and nobody. They're quaking in their boots right now. That's why you saw the hacking increase on my account. They're covered by foreign spies. If the hacking's coming from foreign spies, it's neither here nor there. They were created by the deep state was created by foreign spies and is protected by foreign spies. Indian intelligence is what made all of those Indian people so wealthy. But we're supposed to feel like they're victims now because ICE is arresting some of them. In fact, some of them are Indian intelligence. The guy with the Aldi bags out there too. Is he on meth? He could be on meth. Yeah, she's bipolar. She's probably bipolar, right? Well, because again, they're going, well, you said F you. Yeah, but I'm sitting in my apartment and some of that was bait. Because once you're there, I have to see what you're doing and what you're capable of. All right. They increase the attacks. Which means they're not there for anything safe. Right. But see, that's how their psychology works. Well, she's better than you because she's rescuing people. Right. Oh no, they're dirty, fully dirty in Kansas. Yeah, they got political connections, so they don't get outed. Right. And also like foreign nation protection. Again, if you're gonna take money from the narcos and the sex traffickers like they do in Johnson County, Kansas, and other counties in Kansas, you'll be protected by foreign spies, including Russians. They have an interest in narcos and sex traffickers getting as much way as possible in the United States and the Chinese. They'll protect you too, because you're doing their bidding. You're infiltrating this nation with chemical warfare and destroying the fabric of this nation. And the fabric of this nation is our people and are our people. But it's an is our people because we are one. Right? Is. Can you imagine? Can you imagine her robbing a bank? I don't know what's her name, but the woman at Delaney Hall saying she's autistic. I'm autistic. Don't touch me. I'm convinced we're all autistic, actually. But at what point does it interfere? Well, it's just the way the world developed. It's very, very torturous. Right? Some of it's organized torture, some of it's just by the nature of people being evil. In my life, organized psychological torture has existed for at least 30 years. Gold bars, cash money, you name it. So again, anybody that is in front, well, you probably should post it. I would post it. Now, if it's city property versus your property, you'd have to word it not in a trespassing type of. Oh, actually, no, as federal officers, you can order, but you have to word it that way. Well, okay, so you can't protest active law enforcement operations, active criminal justice operations, if you want to be more exact. Right? But it's still considered law enforcement. So that gate is where inside the facility, and that gate, and of course also the perimeter fence, is where active law enforcement exists. Across the street, it doesn't exist unless you were armed or throwing rocks or something like that. Right. Well, anybody blocking that entryway or even loitering, that's why I say you should post it. No loitering, active law enforcement activity, something like that. And then there are statutes you could list. You might make 3 signs. First one explaining it, referencing the statute, and then 2 more signs or something like that with a couple of statutes. And then you don't let them flee the area. You have them all on video, and you arrest them. And you request that they wear a monitor to keep them away from law enforcement operation. It appears to be an addiction to these people. And again, that's what the psychological operators on the Democratic Party side are doing to these people. They can't feel okay unless they're there. They've done the same thing to me for at least 30 years. But I didn't, I won't go somewhere and act like an idiot like that. Right? No, it's not lawful. Again, what you do is you break down what's going on at Delaney Hall. Where is the act of law? You can't protest active law enforcement. It's bullshit. It's defined in statute as a crime. Now, if you're not convicted, it doesn't mean you didn't commit the crime. A lot of the people that committed those crimes know they committed the crimes, but they're not even humble when they get off the hook. Right. So. They just act like they were never guilty, which is BS. This is like Jesus in the scriptures. You can watch him sin. And the church says he never sinned. I said, well, his heart was not to sin. His desire was not to sin. Therefore, it's not considered sin. But you can watch him engage in, which is a learning point of how you judge things or how God judges things. Of course, God has always told you he judges the inside, not the physical action. The church reversed it. Yeah, I don't have much what's the word I'm looking for? Much sympathy or even much patience with statements that the senator from Utah made about his church. It has nothing to do with them being crooked, which I obviously pointed out and found out they were crooked. I guess it does to a certain degree because you don't get arrested for your crimes. But the fact is that you're being oppressed. The riches within your church, the riches outside your church in the membership, and you're oppressed by the U.S. government? I mean, talk about the unholiest role reversal. Right. See, that's what their mindset is, supremacist. We are the victims. Right. You're LDS supremacists. And that's usually where it starts, where you are the victim of everybody else. Again, the psychology, the staircase to supremacy. Now they do have some poor people, but well, the poor people are like the serfs. It's a feudal society. So let's get back to where we were. Define where active law enforcement activity is going on, and obviously it's the gate, the fence. Again, the way the property is probably structured, you have to find out the sidewalks belong to the state. Although, based upon your law enforcement authority and your presence there, certain areas, even though it's state property, obviously you could federally arrest. So post it. And then you just, have enough officers there and vehicles. You just corral them in with vehicles. Instead of pulling up in a line like that, have it structured so there's no way for them to escape. Right. And then it's not a mass arrest. They're not allowed to be there. There's no freedom of speech and freedom of presence is defined by law, not by some autistic woman and some guy that looks like the Hyphonics dude. No, Andy Kim's full of shit. You see that scam? You let him in, then he comes back the next day and says you won't let him in. Doesn't say you let him in. Say, oh, he's not letting in. In fact, if you had officers bang in that day, find out if they're working for Andy Kim or anybody affiliated with him. That's possible. Make a scenario where you can't let him in because you're down on staff. Or were you planning an operation that day and you didn't have the people to help escort and all that? Right. Find out if somebody leaked that information. Come back on Thursday. They won't have enough people. Right. See, that's also another part of it that's never hit the news. It requires a certain minimum number of people to run the facility safely. When Andy Kim comes, he disrupts that. When the governor of New Jersey shows up, she disrupts that. If we go back through the cases of the people making the complaints, remember, they're on the inside and their families. Now, if there's something going on, there's a process for that, and I've described that. And I've been on those inspections, although it was a regular correctional facility. And they're all cursing the Jew judge, Kaufman. See, Kaufman was part of it. Right? He was a psychological warfare guy, so he's part of it. He did what he could while he was here. Right? It. But again, the people that are making the complaints, why are they in there? The majority, a good portion of them, the ones that aren't criminal. Again, some are criminals, but even if we look at they made false statements in their application for amnesty. So what makes you think they're going to stop lying? That's what gets me, how they're all telling the truth, but yet nobody actually checks it out. They just present it in court like it's evidence. Right. To begin with, they always highlight how this lower judge appointed by, sometimes it's a Republican, but usually it's appointed by Biden, Obama, has come up with this ruling. And then you look at the ruling and there's no evidence to support the ruling. She just took everybody's testimony and went, yeah, ought to be a law. We're all like, it used to be, it was just like Bernie and Nadler. Now the judges are the same way. No, Nadler's done some good stuff in his life for people. I'm not saying he's a horrible person, but he's a bullshitter. Jews, in the Jewish faith, you got bullshitters. Some people are, they're like the wise guys, I guess, of Judaism. And God will use them when he needs to use them. But again, in this particular case, it's destroying our nation. We need the immigrants gone so we can reintroduce immigration in a lawful and a safe manner. Now, Obama was behind that years ago, supposedly. Only when the narco money started flooded in did they say, and the sex trafficking money, did they go, wait a minute, these are good people. No, that's why they kept up something just came in psychically. That's why they kept the deep state up. If they stopped, then you return to a normal life. First off, if I was married and I was with another person, I'm in isolation. And then they laugh. They go, hey, we put you in prison. We put you in segregation. But why would they do that to a good law enforcement officer? Because they're crooks. So again, if they stop, you heal. And they saw that in my life. They weren't able to get to me because the deep state wasn't as big as it is now. Didn't have as much money. Again, they stole all the war funds. That's what they funded attacking me with back then. Stole money from the Iraqi war, stole money from the Afghanistan war, and put it in their own pockets. And ran deep state from their personal lives. That's how rotten they are. People like Rush were in there stealing money from Iraq and Afghanistan, and they hated the good cop. Who was the good cop? Gant. Killed Gant, killed the whole war. Despite them stealing all the money, Gant figured out how to do it on the cheap. Well, because he wasn't deep state. That's all. End of story. If Gant was deep state, he'd have been a hero. We would have won the war. Regardless of what would have happened. I believe it was a setup to begin with. Afghanistan war was crawling with corrupt CIA, and they hate military that's better than they are. They hate law enforcement that's better than they are. It started right in the beginning of the war. The one contractor who was working with the Marines came up with the idea of the awakening councils. And then on his exit out of the country, they threw him in the brig for like 10 days or something. Like, I don't know what the extent was. And interrogated him. And what did they do? They used the program and said it was our people that came up with it. If he hadn't done, he explained it. He said, if I hadn't done what I did, the losses would have been too great. We had just, I think the story was that they had just gained a foothold in a certain region. And if he didn't help protect that group of the Awakening Council before it was the Awakening Council, that would have been a detrimental and horrible loss to, I guess it was about 2 years worth of work. Maybe a little longer. Can't remember what year it was. So again, post your facility. That's what I would do. And explain to them, look, you can go over there and yell at us all day, and we don't care. We can't do anything. Just don't threaten our families. You got to tell them that within reason. Right. Don't let New Jersey take it over completely. Be part of it. Right. You see the one officer that's in, I guess he was the supervisor, but he was wearing the uniform, the regular uniform. Right. Have somebody like that. You can even have him come out in a jogging suit. Whatever works psychologically. I don't know. Talk to your psychological people. Or have him come out dressed in liberal earth tones or something. Whatever works. Just the casual vest on or something. And then talk to them. Say, look, we're posting this here. We want to make sure you know what's going on. Right. You could even actually take spray paint and spray paint a box in front of your gate or gates. I don't know how many gates you have there. And say, don't step inside this box. Any area inside this box is what we need for 24/7 operational purpose. Or if you're not going to enforce it, then don't do it. But you're within lawful. Again, obviously, what's going on right now is not your average day. So what happens? Supremacy kicks in. Again, lawful supremacy, federal supremacy. Right. See, I still think that judge is wrong, but maybe the DOJ at the one in Chicago, Broad, whatever that was, saying she couldn't block off those roads. I think federal supremacy allows you to block off those roads. Right. It's an active operation. That's obvious. And again, the law, the state and local law says what? They have to keep that area open, unrestricted travel. Again, you can detain somebody and release them with monitoring if they are in front of that facility blocking entrance and exit, irregardless of what the charge is. So again, I would draw a box in the front and tell them to stay outside that box. Now, you can let them inside the box, and then when you have enough of them in there blocking traffic, then but at least you've told them we need this space for official law enforcement activity. And going and leaving your place of work is official law enforcement activity. If I have to go into Delaney Hall to work with my POV, to a certain degree, that's covered transportation. Anybody that blocks me based upon coming after ICE, even if it's outside my house, even if it's halfway there, even if it's in front of the place, is committing a federal crime. I mean, she admits to being autistic, which means she's not in her right. Obviously, she's not in her right mind. I mean, there are autistic people that are very quiet and very, very well-minded. I would say she's bipolar. Right, to some extent. What they're doing is they're actively engaged in psychological operation of the victim based upon desiring to discredit the victim based upon an appearance of what would be a psychological issue if they weren't there. And then everybody says nobody's there. Again, but that then triggers the scripture where they're the beast. So they have a physical, a psychological, and a metaphysical ability to be somewhere, but yet not be there. Again, that's a description of the beast. So that's the scam. Oh, I held out for many years. But when it was apparent to the Lord that there's nothing the Lord could do to stop them from causing a man to be alone in violation of Genesis, but the other scriptures, such as if you're Christian, the New Testament, where Paul says, get married. But of course, they know that outside of the scripture, that being married to a good woman who's equally yoked, including sexually, will cause fornication to flee. That's why they don't allow it. Makes it too easy. Makes it the way we're supposed to live. But then again, you have people like who? Like Senator Mike there in Utah. He don't give a shit. But he's part of the holy roller set. So again, more is being asked. And what are they doing? Worse than less. They're engaged in crime. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.